I'm back with a book review. I am going to be talking about J.K. Rowling's first adult novel, The Casual Vacancy. I just finished it last night. For those of you who follow me on Goodreads, I already have the review posted up there. So I of course was very excited to see that J.K. Rowling was writing again. Big Harry Potter fan, obviously, and so I was very interested to see what she was going to do with writing a book in a completely new genre than what we're used to hearing from her. And what I will say is that this book was not disappointing. I can't say that, but I don't feel this book was... I feel like if it had been written by anyone else other than J.K. Rowling, no one really would have given it this much attention. It is essentially plotless. There's a story, yes, but there really is no plot. There are no really big... By big, I mean, like, you know, we're used to, like, the epicness of the Harry Potter, but just separating from that, there are really no big, you know, big hurdles people pass. It's mostly about concepts and about structural issues that is being discussed here. The characters are essentially irrelevant in The Casual Vacancy. It's mostly about, they're just being used to examine the welfare system, examine culture, examine class, the inner workings of British society. The characters are irrelevant. It's about J.K. Rowling talking about these issues using the frame of a small town area to delve into these issues. And basically what happens is that Barry Fairbrother, he is a chairman on the board of Pagford, and he suddenly dies of an aneurysm, leaving his spot vacant. And right now Pagford is in the middle of I keep calling it pig farts, you know, Harry Potter in the brain still. It's Pagford. Pagford is in the middle of this kind of issue. They own a plot of land called the Fields, and because of that land, people who live in that area, it's called Yarville, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. I don't really remember the name. It's basically the bad side of town, like the urban area. They can come into the district, they can use that area, and they're upset about this because it's ruining, you know, the small town vibe, and they're not the kind of people they want to be associated with. You know, lower class, what people call chavs. Those are the kind of people who live in that area, drug addicts, and they also have leased land to a clinic that is responsible for treating people with drug addiction. And they are discussing whether or not to terminate that lease and get rid of them. And so Barry was one of the people who was against that idea. He was pushing, you know, to keep the Fields as property, to keep the center going, but then he dies and his chair is opened. And so the entire story kind of centers around is the conflict of finding a new person to fill his seat. And through that, you get all these interdynamic relationships between husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, parents and children, children of their children, and it's so scattered all over the place. But I think it was one of the big issues when I was reading it. Like in the beginning, the exposition goes on forever. I think the first 200 pages, nothing of real importance besides the catalyst for the story of Barry's death really occurs. It is really just telling us who the characters are, who they're with, and things like that. But I feel like you jump around. There's no central protagonist or even central antagonist. You know, there is no right or wrong. You are basically given a situation. You're given a glimpse into this town from the eyes of God, and you can make a decision based on yourself. I think that's what Rowling was trying to do. She was giving us a bird's eye view of everything that was going on in this town, and we are left to build up our own assumptions about who we agree with based on how they act and the evidence given towards us. We choose our own protagonists and antagonists. And that would be fine if the characters gave us anything to connect with. I didn't connect with any of the characters in this novel. We don't spend enough time with them. Their relationships are kind of all over the place. The way that they are just jumped from person to person, there were times when I first started reading it, I did not remember who some people were and who they connected with because, you know, I'm doing other stuff and, you know, I'm not reading it one way straight through, but I'm paying attention, mind you, and I'm trying to remember, like, who is this person? Who are they related to? You know, because they keep using, you know, nicknames and all the other kind of names. And I'm just kind of like, who is this person? And really, when it comes down to it, the characters are not important. They are stand-ins for concepts and types of people, not being people themselves. And that's the major flaw with this book. You know, there is no plot, and there are no character. We're not giving enough character depth to really bond with these people. And so you have this whole back and forth between the two groups of people over what to do with the fields and all that kind of stuff. And it was like, yes, there were characters I sympathized more with, the character of Crystal, the character of Jolly. I felt more for them because I could understand them more. But at the same time, you know, there's no one that's made to be a perfect person. Everyone is kind of, you know, doing the wrong thing. You know, no one's perfect. You know, it kind of reminds me, like, to compare it to something else, like how Game of Thrones really doesn't have one clear hero. It's all these different people. You're supposed to decide based on your own opinions. And, you know, that is neither here nor there. I mean, I think that what she's doing is very timely. I mean, the way she talks about class and the issues of, you know, public welfare from both sides of the spectrum is very interesting. And I think that, you know, she doesn't, while she obviously has her own opinions, she herself being, you know, was a participant in that system for a time due to what we know about her financial circumstances before she published the books. It's obvious what she must think, but she never makes one side seem better than the other. Not like there's no one's like the center of like moral purity. It is just, you know, these two groups. If anyone is a symbol for anything, it's the character of Robbie, because he's just a toddler. He doesn't really know what's going on, but he's affected by it anyway because he's just getting yanked around. You know, he will fall through the waistline of the system no matter what happens. And I think, like, he's the character, if you're going to choose anyone who's kind of, like, symbolic of something greater and hope, it's Robbie's character. But other than that, you know, it's about the ideas, you know. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not interested in politics and you have no interest in any of these characters, this book is going to be a bore. And I think that many people feel like it is a bore because nothing is really going on. You know, but the thing about it too, I never found it boring because J.K. Rowling is a great storyteller. The story is engaging enough that I didn't want to stop reading it. I still enjoyed it and I still, like, didn't mind reading it, but at the same time I just felt like I'm enjoying this, but I don't think it's great. I it was decent, but I didn't even think it was really that good. Not because I didn't like it, because I felt like, you know, it's great that you have these concepts and these ideas, but at the same time, I need something more than that. I need to care about these characters. I need to feel something when things happen. I need to care about their lives, and I just didn't. There wasn't even a character that, like, I would be excited about when I got to their POV. Because I know in Game of Thrones, I don't like everyone's point of view, but there are always characters who I'm just like, yeah, that character. Can't wait to read more about them. None of that with this. It's kind of like everyone's on the same level playing field. Even though I like, you know, Crystal and Jolly more, I didn't particularly care to read their sections where they talked about stuff more than anyone else's. You know, it's just kind of this equal playing field. And I felt like that weakens the book because there is nothing larger to grab onto as a reader. But like I said, the storytelling is good, and I do appreciate the political thing that she's using. And I think that what was really interesting to me was seeing how she uses, you know, dialect and other cues to tell you where these people come from. Like, you know, Crystal's family is from a lower area, so they have a very Chav accent. If you've seen Misfits, the character of Kelly, basically that's how she sounds. And the way she can give these characters each a voice, you know, that's all good. She's good at that. We know she can do that. But I think going beyond, giving something more, was missing in this book. So, like, while I enjoyed it, I don't feel like the need to tell everyone, rush out and get her new book, you know. If you want to know because you're interested because you like J.K. Rowling and you want to find out for yourself, sure. But it's like at the same time, it's like if you want to wait for this to come out in paperback, if you want to get it from the library and wait on the wait list, you know, I don't feel like you're missing out on anything. It's another part in her, you know, literary journey. It's another part in her writing experience. But at the same time, doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to, like, because you love J.K. Rowling, you have to love everything she does. You know, that's not fair. That doesn't help anybody. So I feel like while this book had interesting themes and interesting things going on, how it came together was weak. And so I can only give it a 2.5. I don't think that this book has enough to give it more than that. So that's what I think about the Casual Vacancy. For those of you who have read the book, what did you think of it? Did you agree or disagree? I don't have no attachment. I don't care if you think I'm wrong or right.